Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to learn about this 21-day cleanse program. This 21-day cleanse program developed over a period of time because I got very interested in the idea of what was blocking people from healing, what was stopping them from getting well. I used to see a lot of miracles when I was first in practice, and I don't think it's because I got to be a worse chiropractor. My skill set probably got better, but the miracles weren't as prevalent. So I talked to my colleagues. I said, what's going on? What do you guys see? They say, we see the same thing too. I said, so what is blocking healing? And they said they thought it was poor nutrition and our toxic environment, those two things. And I'm like, well, I don't really know. That's just maybe hype, or maybe it's a real thing. And I started to investigate. And I found a book written by Randall Fitzgerald, which should be on everybody's bookshelf. It's called The 100-Year Lie. And in this book, he details all of the toxins and chemicals that are out there and the effects that they're having on the body. And the book was an easy read. It read like a PowerPoint presentation, and that was the genesis of this class. So we live in a toxic world. There's lots and lots of chemicals out there that do have an effect on us, and there are chemicals that we need to be aware of. Well, what kind of chemicals? Well, there are chemicals in the food we eat. There's over 30,000 processed food products out there. And in those processed food products, there are over 6,000 synthetic chemicals. Many of them are carcinogenic, cancer-causing. What? There's cancer-causing ingredients in our food? Oh, yeah. But the food companies say, don't worry about it. It's in such minute proportions that it's not going to hurt you. Right? But the problem is, we keep eating those foods, and those proportions keep building up. Add to that, there are pesticide residues on our food. There are herbicide residues on our food. There are personal products like deodorant and eyeliner and stuff like that that have toxic chemicals in them. Do you guys remember a few years ago, the Lancome company got in trouble because they had lead in their lipstick? So that super bright red lipstick that some women wear, or maybe all women wear on special occasions, I don't know. But the super bright glossy stuff had lead in it. Well, what does lead do? It causes neurodegeneration, brain degeneration. And many of that is absorbed through the skin. There are pesticides out there. Whoops, I went the wrong way. So, do these toxins get into the body? Well, we have some evidence that they do. The Centers for Disease Control did a study. They looked at 2,400 people and they tested them for 148 specific toxins in their blood and in their urine. And what they found is that most people had dozens of these chemicals floating around in their systems. And the worst loads were in children. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. The pesticide thing, another CDC study, this is a huge study, 9,000 plus people had an average of 13 pesticides in their blood and urine. And they're not running around in pesticide clouds like they do over in eastern Washington, at least not all of them. So they were getting them probably from their food. And then this very interesting study came out. Now, Cheng-Sheng Liu was a researcher at Johns Hopkins University, and he looked at children and tested their saliva and their pee, and he found these organophosphates, which are pretty damaging because they know that they cause neurological damage in rats. And he was wondering, maybe they cause neurological damage in rug rats, Now, the scary thing about this study, it was done on Mercer Island and a Montessori school there. And they took the groups of children and they fed the one group conventionally raised vegetables and fruits, and the other group they fed the all organics. All right? And they couldn't detect any pesticide residues in the kids that were eating the organics. That's right in our backyard. That's a big deal because it makes it real. Those are our neighbors' kids, right? That were doing. And then he did something really interesting. He switched the treatment and the control group, and he fed the kids that were getting the organics. Then they got the conventionally raised things, and the results reversed. So he knew for sure it was coming from the conventionally raised vegetables and fruits. There's a group out there called the Environmental Working Group, and every year they publish a list called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. And the Dirty Dozen are the most pesticide-laden fruits, vegetables, produce out there. Get that group, go on the web, look it up, and see what their list is. The Clean 15 are the vegetables and fruits that don't absorb as much pesticides, or maybe don't get as many pesticides used on them. Like you don't need a lot of pesticides to grow garlic. Bugs kind of stay away from garlic, right? And there are other things like that, like onions are another one on that Clean 15 list. So you can maybe fudge a little and buy those inorganic, but the Dirty Dozen, you definitely want to buy all of those organic. And I mention that because sometimes, now in our house, we are 100% organic. I'll go without all kinds of other stuff. I'll forget the movies or whatever. I won't go to a Seahawks game so long as I can buy my organic fruits and vegetables. Drugs. Over 30,000 prescription drugs out there and 200,000 over-the-counter drugs. All medications have toxic side effects. That's the way that it works, all right? They work because of their toxic side effects. That's the reason they're powerful and potent. So we all need to take medications at some time in our lives. There'll be a circumstance, right? But the less medication you take, probably the better. Enough said about that. Household products, fabric softeners. One of the most toxic things you can do is those artificially scented candles in your house. And I like candles. I like to have candlelight in my house, but it's beeswax and natural oil scents all the way because I don't want that. Oh, another really toxic thing, and I noticed this, I'm out running and it's cold, frosty morning, and I smell that smell. It's the dryer lint, sheets, and somebody's running their dryer, and I can smell that smell from across the street. That's very, very toxic stuff and has endocrine disruptors in it and all sorts of things. Let's talk a little bit about that. So here's another one that brings it down home. Patricia Dawson, she's a surgeon in Seattle. She got tested by the Environmental Working Group and had 38 chemicals, including DDT, in her system. Now, if you know your history, DDT was a pesticide that was banned in, anybody hazard a guess? 60-something, very good. So it was November of 1970 that it was banned because it was getting into the food chain and it was deforming the eagles and all of our national symbols, right? And they were getting brittle shells and the eagles were dying and the population was plummeting, so they decided we'll do something about it and they banned DDT. But guess what they did with all the DDT? They shipped it overseas. So Patricia, who was young enough, was obviously getting DDT residues from fruit that had been raised in some other country where they're not so cautious about what pesticides they use. Dennis Hayes, from the president of the Bullet Foundation, he very famously quipped, he says, "I'm both relieved and disgusted." He says, I'm relieved because I'm past the age of childbearing years, and I'm disgusted because they're going to have to bury me in a toxic waste dump. He was laden with mercury, right? And here's this guy who's this environmental luminary, and the Bullet Foundation is doing all his work, and here he is, he's toxic himself. Karen Bowman, she had 38 chemicals, including phthalates. What are phthalates? Phthalates are those endocrine disruptors that come from plastics and stuff. You remember the big scandal about the bottles, right? And so instead of drinking from a plastic bottle now, I'm drinking from a glass bottle because my wife, bless her, makes me. She wants to keep me around for some reason. And very inconvenient. Now at the gym, when I'm working out on equipment, I still have a plastic bottle, right? But the rest of the time, it's the glass. And it's a good way to go. Because endocrine disruptors really mess with our system, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So 10 out of 10 people, so it was a very small study, 10 out of 10 people had dangerous levels of chemicals, including pesticides. So what are these endocrine disruptors? This is just from December 24th, 2013. While you guys were getting ready for Christmas, I was perusing the journals to see what new information I could bring to you. So 6 out of 19 children's footwear samples tested had endocrine disrupting chemicals at 100 times the safe level, and 2 of them had carcinogenic things. All right, so you've got these powerful molecules, endocrine disruptors. They're in the shoes. The kids are running around. They got little sweaty feet, right? Do you believe some of those phthalates might be absorbed into those little children's feet? Absolutely, because many of those things are transdermal. You guys are all looking a bit shell-shocked. Am I being depressing enough yet? Wait, it only gets better. The effects of toxins, obesity, nervous system damage, endocrine damage from those endocrine disruptors, cancer, and psychological effects. All right? It's a wonder we've got such a crazy world out there, because there are some crazy toxins out there. Here's a great quote for you. The authorities have been looking at this, and the authorities said cancers of all types display, even under already existing conditions, all the characteristics of an epidemic in slow motion. The cause: the increasing contamination of the human environment with chemicals and physical carcinogens, and with chemicals supporting and potentiating their action. So not only have you got bad chemicals out there, you've got other bad chemicals which make the bad chemicals even worse. It's that negative concept called dysergy, a negative synergy. So think about, you drink a few glasses of wine and you take some tranquilizers. That's a negative synergy, right? The way those two things work together. You're not fit to drive, you're not fit to do anything. Now here's a scary thing. This thing was said by Huebner and Conway from the National Cancer Institute in 1964. Shocking. This information is out there. We know about it. It's been talked about. People have stated it, and nothing's being done. All right. So here we go. Cancer rates. In 1950, 25% of adults in the U.S. could expect to get cancer in their lifetimes. Today, it's 38.3% of women and 48.2% of men. If you include lung cancers, the incidence increased 49.3% between 1950 and 1991. Grim news, I know. Here's a chart showing the increase in cancer rates from 1900 to 1990. And I had a very smart member in the audience who says, "Oh, I'm sure that's not an age-adjusted graph, right? Because now we're living longer, so more people die from cancer." No, it was age-adjusted. And I put it to you that this is actually the bottom of the bell curve. It's going to get steeper with what they're doing to the environment, with what they're doing with the ubiquitous nature of toxins. Here we go, 1950 to 2001. The incidence of all types of cancer in the United States increased by an age-adjusted rate of 85%, and the fastest growing demographic for that is children. So in school, I learned about Wilms tumors, right? And they told us, oh, you need to know this for the board exams, but you'll never, ever see this in practice. My colleague in downtown Seattle has had 3 children with Wilms tumors. There's a Wilms tumor subspecialty unit at Children's Hospital. Very bad, quickly growing nerve tumor that affects kids. I'm like, where's it coming from? There's something we're doing differently. I believe it's the toxicity. All right, look at these statistics. Skin melanoma up 690%. Now, back in 1950, this is none of you, but when they were sunbathing back in 1950, they slathered that oil on so they would burn. There was no SPF 30, right? So it's not just the sunscreen equation. prostate cancer up 286%, thyroid cancer up 258%, and down the list it goes. These are scary, scary statistics. So we do have an epidemic. It is getting worse. Yes, some people are surviving cancer treatment longer than they used to, but these statistics just shouldn't be. And here we go, more luminaries attached to the government making bold statements. The true burden of environmentally induced cancers has been grossly underestimated. I nearly fell over. This is the President's Cancer Panel from May of 2010. So when this news came out, I thought, at last. You remember back in 1964, William Huebner and Conway had said, we've got this cancer epidemic, and now these very conservative oncologists, these are not crazy naturopaths and chiropractors on this panel by any means. These are the most conservative oncologists out there, and they're making a statement like this. And what did we do with it? Nothing? Have any regulations been introduced to clean up our environment? No. Have there been any investigations funded by the government to look at the interactions of phthalates with, say, aerosols or anything like that? No. None of that's being done. Almost like they want us dead. All right, cancer. This is really bringing it home. Cancer is now the most common leading cause of death in Washington State in my age demographic. Now it's getting personal. All right, it's overtaken heart disease as being the number one killer of my age group. So there's things we can do. Why are these toxins so bad? Most of the toxin-related diseases take years to manifest, and that's the problem. To get that full clinical expression, so the cause is very far removed from the effect, and that's why they're so hard to study. And then we talk about man being at the top of the food chain. I mean, you can eat anything you want. You can have whale burger if you want at certain times of the year, right? And toxins concentrate the higher up you go up the food chain. Like the PCBs in the breast milk of the Greenland Eskimo moms, right? So the krill eat the algae on the ice in the Arctic regions, and the little creatures eat the krill, and then the herrings eat those little creatures, and then the salmon eat the herrings, and then the seals eat the salmon, and the moms eat the seal blubber. And they found out about this because apparently Greenland Eskimo mothers are prolific producers of breast milk. And so they were flying their breast milk down to Denmark, where those emaciated little European women were not producing enough milk to feed their babies, and they all knew breast milk is best, right, because it's Europe. And they were harvesting this milk, right? But they thought, we better test it first, and they freaked out because it was laden with PCBs that came from industrial Europe, floated out over the seas, landed in the Arctic regions, and then were absorbed by the algae, eaten by the krill, eaten by the herring, eaten by the salmon, eaten by the seals, or eaten by the Eskimo mothers. I want to create that picture for you so you understand how it gets concentrated. Toxins are often stored in fat, and we're going to talk about that. And the body does that as a protective mechanism. Okay, so everybody needs to detoxify. Me, you, all of us. Okay, if we live in the modern world. Detoxification has been around forever. It is a natural process. You go to sleep at night after your meal, and you wake up in the morning, and your next meal is called breakfast. You're breaking the fast of sleeping all those hours. During the wee small hours of the night, your body has been detoxifying. It's meant to do that. You have very sophisticated processes in your body that help you detoxify. But there are things you can do to enhance those processes, and there are problems with the detoxification because of the complexity of the chemicals that we're dealing with. Fasting, for example, was done by ancient cultures. When people were sick, they'd take their food away, and that would help them recover quicker in many cases for many types of things. Like, what was the old saying? Feed a cold, starve a fever. Yeah, so things that were infection related, they took away the food supply and the body detoxified and it helped them get over. Now, it seems to prolong life. Cultures that fast seem to live longer, so this is a good thing. And then in the 1940s and 1950s, there were the California health nuts, Paul Bragg, Jack LaLanne, and Bernard McFadden. And Bernard McFadden had the magazine Physical Culture, which was the most popular magazine of its day, brought weightlifting to America. And Jack LaLanne, you all know who he was, the crazy exercise guy and the juice man, right? And then this other guy, Paul Bragg, who recommended fasting and apple cider vinegar. Now, Paul Bragg's a bit of a controversial figure because it seems like he was a genius marketer and he was a bit loose with the truth on some of his marketing materials. And so we don't really know how old he was. Was he born in 1885 or was he born in 1891? Did he serve in the military or not? We're not really sure. All right, but he was hale and hearty until his end days. He had a surfing accident when he was 91 where he almost drowned, and after that he got a lung infection and it turned into pneumonia, and then he had some heart problems and he died. But nice way to go, right? 91 and you're tearing it up at at the Bonsai Pipeline. That's a good thing. So he recommended pure water fasting. So 1 day a week you just drink distilled water with a little lemon and a little bit of honey in it, and that was your fast. And you do that for 24 hours. And 3 times a year you do a 3-day fast, and then once a year you do a 10-day fast. All right? But there he was. He was living proof. He was playing tennis in the desert in Palm Springs with these young guys and just beating them handily. They were wilting in the heat. He's just like, come on, bring it on. In his 80s, right? So we don't advise you do a pure water fast these days. Why not? Because everybody's too toxic. Everybody's too toxic. The British equivalent of the head of the FDA, she made a bold statement. I think it's about a decade back now, but she said, if we were cannibals and human meat was for sale, I'd have to ban its consumption because it's unsafe because it's so toxic. Gross example, but there it is. So anyway, that's why we don't advise the pure water fast today. People try it. They have all these horrible reactions. Their skin breaks out. They're nauseated. They throw up. They get diarrhea. Their hair falls out. All sorts of things like that. Not good reactions. We want to manage those. So we do it a little different way. Our high-intensity program has proven safety and proven efficacy. People in this room have done it, enjoyed the process, maybe, but certainly had some good results with it. 21 days, and guess what? I'll be doing it with you. All right? You're craving a pizza and a beer. I'm craving a pizza and a beer too. All right? This is a group participation thing, and there's group support for that. And I advise you to come to the meetings as we go because you get group support. Because every meeting we have our Who Cheated confessional session. And it's amazing who cheats. Like one person who shall remain nameless could not go past the Philly cheesesteak sign. And he was overcome with hunger. And he consumed that Philly cheesesteak. And he felt guilty, but he enjoyed it. It was the best Philly cheesesteak he's ever had. It was week 1. It was supposed to be on raw vegetables and fruits. So it's based on very low calorie intake, nutritional support, no caffeine, lots of water, and sweat. Okay? You say, I don't like to sweat. Well, glow then, but I want you to glow a lot. Yep, absolutely. Organic fruits and vegetables, 75% vegetables, 25% fruit. Get some rest and avoid toxins. That's what you need to do. My wife sometimes criticizes me because I seem to be consuming more fruit on these cleanses than I should. It's like, hi, my name's Steve, and I'm a carbohydrateaholic. And until today, I did not know why it was so important to limit the amount of fruit, but I found out today. You have a hormone in your body called leptin. Leptin gives you that feeling of satisfaction when you eat. It tells you you're full. Fructose suppresses the action of leptin. You eat fruit, you feel less satisfied. Interesting. So we want fruit to be carbohydrate boost for you. We want it to be a bit of a treat, but we don't want you to consume too much of it. Okay? So about those portions, lots and lots of vegetables and some fruit. What you don't consume: no processed foods, no bread, no pasta, no rice, no legumes, no meat, no sweets, no candy, no artificial sweeteners, no caffeine, no alcohol or other stimulants. Had a patient today, he's like, I don't know, I keep wanting to do this cleanse. I don't know if I could go 21 days without a glass of wine. I say, you have a different problem. And it's interesting how we help ourselves along, isn't it? You know, it's a stressful day and we come home, we have a glass of wine, you know, oh, everything's better. We give you special compounds to consume, things like fiber, antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids that kind of act as the broom to sweep up all the toxins and get them out of your cells. And then we give you some other products that help get them out of the system. Sometimes when people hear the word cleanse, they go, oh no, I'm going to have to take 3 weeks off home and I'm going to have to, you know, live right next to the bathroom. No, that's not real life. I see patients during the cleanse. I stay busy during the cleanse. I do the cleanse classes during the cleanse. I work out during the cleanse. You live your life, right? And you'll have a little bit lower energy, particularly at first, but you'll get a big energy boost a few days into it. And you'll get clarity of mind, and you'll suddenly get very, very productive. It's really interesting how it happens. So things like Spanish black radish, milk thistle bind to the toxins and help get them out of the system. There's got to be two pathways. There's got to be primary detoxification, getting it out of the cells, and secondary detoxification, getting it out of the body. Because many of the cleanses out there, and I've looked at them, pretty much all of them, they only do that one pathway. So unless they're doing the secondary pathway, then you're going to be doing damage. I got one patient down in Seattle. She won't do the cleanse. I said, why not? She says, I did one once and my hair fell out. I'm like, oh, I know what that was. That was mercury that made her hair fall out. She's laden with toxic chemicals. It got it going around in the system, did its damage, and it stayed in there probably. Couldn't talk her into it though. So how do the toxins get out? Well, pee, poop, spit, and sweat. And the skin is the largest organ of detoxification and the biggest surface area, and that's why I want you to sweat a little bit on this cleanse. You say, well, I don't sweat, I don't exercise. Well, you can do saunas or infrared saunas or, you know, stuff like that. That helps. Or you can put a bunch of clothes on and go up and down the stairs, you know, multiple times. So we get you some special products. The SP Complete has a bunch of macronutrients in it. The Whey Pro Complete has undonatured whey in it, which is very, very important. I'll tell you why in a minute. We give you some Udo's oil, which you put in the shake. It gives it a nice feel and also gives you those essential fatty acids that will help you absorb the minerals in the other products. And then we give you a scoop of antioxidant green stuff that helps the shake taste better and helps with the detoxification process. So undonatured whey is very, very interesting because it's the building block of glutathione. It's the product that your body can make glutathione out of, and glutathione is the body's master antioxidant. Had this weird paradox when I first started doing the cleanse. I recommended if people were working out a lot, you know, in the gym, lifting weights, doing all that stuff, running marathons, whatever they're doing, riding their bike back and forth to work. I recommended, you're not going to be getting enough protein. I don't want you to metabolize your muscle. I'm going to give you extra protein, so we'll give you this whey protein, right? They lost the most weight. And I'm like, oh, it's because they're working out. And then we were at a seminar a few years ago, and I learned that unddenatured whey is the best building block for glutathione, the body's master antioxidant. They were detoxifying faster than the rest of them. So now it's in everybody's package. Yeah, we might have changed since you did the cleanse. But I do recommend that everybody do it because that's what we have the best results with. So it adds 15 grams of protein to your shake. I don't want you metabolizing muscle. I want you getting rid of the excess fat. Okay? And the magic is in the SP cleanse. It supports healthy liver and gallbladder function and gets the elimination working. It's a little bit diuretic. You know, my first cleanse, I'm like up in the middle of the night 3 times. I'm like, oh, old age, come to visit me so soon, right? My bladder has shrunk or something, I don't know. But no, it was the diuretic effect of the SP cleanse. It has fenugreek in there, fennel, and some other things that have been known and proven with Ayurvedic medicine and with Chinese medicine to be a detoxifier. And this is where a lot of this information comes from. The gastrofiber is a soluble and insoluble fiber, and it helps cleanse the digestive tract. We don't want you constipated on this cleanse. If you get constipated, you've got to talk to me. We have some additional products available. Gymnema, the Indian swamp herb for those with those wicked sweet tooth cravings. And Gymnema is remarkable because not only does it lower blood sugar, but it also takes away your craving for the sweet taste. And we used to do a cruel trick on previous cleanses, which I've stopped doing because of fear of liability. But we'd have people take a swig, a little capful of Gymnema tincture. But before they did that, we'd give them a piece of sweet, dark chocolate, and they'd enjoy that. And then after they took the swig of the Gymnema, we'd give them another piece, and it tasted just like wax or soap in their mouth. They could not taste the sweet. It absolutely took away their sweet taste. So whole food fiber is another thing. If you have problems with regular fiber, we can get that for you too. So the cost, this is where it gets scary. So $451.14 for the standard products. It's a chunk of change, but as I said to somebody today, think about the money you're saving on pizza and beer, right? And you're buying vegetables, and that's usually the cheapest part of the grocery bill. Not always, but often. And so it's a substantial cost, I recognize. Why do I use the products I use? Because I've looked at the stuff out there. I've learned that the only way to detoxify is through food-based protocols, and all of these products are, organic, food-based, coming from a company that's been around since 1923. They've done the research, and I've learned this program, and to use these products and added a few extra products in there on the advice of some naturopathic people. So what does week 1 look like? You get shakes, 1 to 3 per day. You get raw organic vegetables and raw organic fruits. And it doesn't have to be like you're just eating a bunch of cut up vegetables. You can actually make things. This is a recipe a gal called Galen came up with. And it's cucumber gazpacho and avocado with endive cups. Looks delicious, right? It's a bit more work than your regular fare. It's not, you're not just putting something in the microwave. Week 2, you get shakes, you get raw organic vegetables and fruits, and then you get to lightly steam and cook your vegetables. You have never tasted a better spear of broccoli than you do on the first day of week 2. It'll give you a whole new appreciation for how wonderful vegetables are. And then week 3, you get to add fish and sprouted seeds and nuts. So that kind of gives you an overview of what you'll be doing for the next 21 days. It's your decision, all right? This is information. Sometimes I have people say, I'm not ready for this. I had one person come in and say, I'd love to do it. This is just a bad time for me. I got a bunch of social invitations coming up. I've got travel I've got to do. You've got to pick the time. I will warn you that this is the hardest cleanse to do, the January cleanse, because, baby, it's cold outside, right? And when it's cold, we tend to gravitate toward comfort foods and high carbohydrate foods. And we want things that are hot. So week 1 is tougher than it needs to be. The easiest cleanse to do is in the spring. The weather's nice, it's warming up, you're feeling more active, you're coming out of your winter hermit hole, and it just makes sense to do salads. There's lots of fresh fruits and vegetables available. And the fall cleanse is not bad either, but it can also be challenging. All right, so there's my contact information. If you need that, if you need to get a hold of me, if you don't have it already, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. And I'd like to announce, thanks to my wife, we have a new website up called the 21daycleanse.org, all spelled out. And the website has password-protected content. And if you do the cleanse, we'll give you the password. So you can upload information. Now, we'll give a lot of it to you anyway. I'm not like trying to create a special elite group. But the reason I'm recording this is so I can put it on the cleanse, because there was danger that some of you couldn't make it tonight. And so I've got to get it up there so that in that circumstance so people can hear it. And some people will want to review it anyway. So that's up and running now. Now I suggest you type 21daycleanse.org into your browser because of the mysteries of Google. You know, we've got this brand new website and we don't know how to get it high up there so it starts appearing immediately on the first page of Google. And, you know, there are people out there that will, you know, charge us $5,000 a month to make that happen. But search engine optimization is not in the budget for this go around. So you'll have to put it in the browser. Transformation. Here's Richard. And there was the first cleanse that he did. The January cleanse of 2011, then after the cleanse there he was, and then he did another one in the spring, and you can see he's kind of the incredible shrinking man. Now I like this picture of Richard because he's not the most athletic guy in the world, and he's not the most active guy, and he loves his food. You know, he's all about the food, you know. But the amazing thing about Richard, and I have his permission to tell this story, he's got bone-on-bone arthritis, degeneration in his knees, and it's painful for him to walk. He does the cleanse. He comes in one day. He says, "You never guess what I did today." I say, "I don't know. What'd you do today?" He says, "I walked down a moving escalator. I haven't done that in 10 years. His knee pain was so much better, and he's never gone back to the same knee pain levels that he was always coming in to see us for. So why? The cleanse is so anti-inflammatory that it dramatically reduces the pain levels in your joints. And that's what it's all about. Good. It's very, very doable. It's very fun. I always have a different experience when I do the cleanse. And I just welcome you to join us.